Anyway, the second question is, do you think in hindsight, Vince McMahon gets too much unnecessary flack for his handling of the invasion angle? I say this because people seem to forget that WCW was so badly damaged by the end that very little could have been done to make the company look credible. Not to mention, WWE spent years upon years teaching their audience that everything about WCW sucked. So I believe the pro-WWE fans, for the most part, would have rejected anything WCW related, regardless of how good or bad they were presented. I cannot disagree with you more on that question. Vince McMahon deserves all the flack in the world that he's been getting and more for the way that invasion was handled. He does not get a pass on that. Not at all. He pissed away the single biggest angle in the history of wrestling. A gold mine. Somebody backed the Brinks truck up to Titan Towers and said, here, and it's like Vince saying, oh, no, you got the wrong building. You want to go down the street. That belongs to them. It's just amazing to me the things they did, the things they didn't do, the people they didn't get. Knowing, okay, they can't get everybody. Okay, not everybody's going to want to come to WWF. Kevin Nash may be perfectly happy sitting at home and collecting guaranteed money for doing nothing. But had they bought out the contracts of even two of those guys, if they brought in Ric Flair, Goldberg, and Eric Bischoff, and fuck Hogan, and fuck Nash, and fuck Hall, and Steiner, and all of them, and you get them later on, just bring in Goldberg, Flair, and Bischoff, and if you have a solid plan for how you want this to go down, instead of having Eric Bischoff finally show up on television and hug Vince McMahon like bosom buddies in his very first appearance, maybe you actually come up with something that's halfway creative, with Bischoff leading some sort of invasion, led by Goldberg and Flair as the two top names, along with Booker T and DDP and the other mid-card guys they brought in. It needed some credibility. It didn't have any. All of the big names that people associated with WCW, whether they hated WCW or they loved it, they were nowhere to be found. They all ended up coming in, but by then it was too late. Think about it. Every single one of those guys came in except Sting and Luger. Hogan, Hall, Nash, Steiner, Goldberg, Bischoff, Flair, I might even be forgetting one. They all ended up in WWE within a year and a half. And so had they just spent a little bit of money to get some of those guys quicker, and like I said, if they had a better battle plan for this thing to make it more like a real invasion, a real war between the two factions, I mean, they could have made money hand over fist. They would have made that money back in spades. And it would have been so much more fun to follow. So they bungled that from day one. There were parts of the invasion that were fun. It wasn't all shit. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that invasion should have been so much more than it was. And so the idea that, well, WWE trained people to not like WCW, that's fine. That's fine. That's part of the reason why that Booker T. Buff Bagwell match died on the vine that night on Raw when they had that match in Tacoma and the crowd shit all over it. Number one, it's Buff Bagwell. Number two, for years, people were conditioned to think WCW was the enemy. And now you're at a WWE show. A lot of these people have no idea who these guys are. So what did you expect them to do? Other than to react the way that they did. You know what? That's fine. If that's how people were going to react to it, then you position WCW as the enemy. They've already got heat. People hate them, right? Run with it. Make them the enemy. Make them the bad guys. I mean, it's just crazy to me to think of all the things that could have been done, and that fans who have these dreams in their heads of this dream card, or what would happen one day if this guy fought that guy, or if WCW invaded, and they had it in their hands, and they just fucked the whole thing up. It's just ridiculous to me, and Vince McMahon does not get a pass for that. I'm sorry. I cannot disagree with you more on that question than I do.